Epictetus was a Greek Stoic philosopher who lived in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. He was born in Phrygia, present-day Turkey, and during his youth was a slave in Rome to an important administrator in the court of the emperor. At an early age, Epictetus developed a significant interest in philosophy. With his owner's permission, he studied under Gaius Musonius Rufus, who, along with Epictetus, is now considered one of the great Stoic philosophers of the Roman Empire. After acquiring his freedom in 68 CE, young Epictetus became a teacher of philosophy in Rome, later continuing his practice in northwestern Greece by founding a philosophical school there. Epictetus, who led a simple lifestyle with very few possessions, taught a practical philosophy to help people lead meaningful lives. He emphasized integrity, personal freedom, and self-mastery through the use of reason and virtue, which is required to live in accordance with nature. The detailed steps and techniques in this regard presented in his teachings illustrate Stoicism as a way of life. One of Epictetus's most dedicated students was Arrian, who compiled and published his own personal notes from his teacher's lectures into the well-known books Discourses and Enchiridion. Epictetus's teachings have had an immense influence throughout the centuries, including on the great philosopher and Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius, on early Christian moral thought, on current approaches in psychology and more, and continues to have an impact on many intellectuals, thinkers, and philosophers around the world. The beloved Stoic philosopher and teacher was remembered as a lively speaker who was able to make his listeners feel his own insights. We'll now read a segment of the collected teachings from the Enchiridion by Epictetus. According to Epictetus's beliefs, all external events are beyond our control, and we should accept them with ease, calmness, and humility, whereas each individual is responsible for their own actions, which they should govern with determination and self-discipline. The Enchiridion. There are things which are within our power, and there are things which are beyond our power. Within our power are opinion, aim, desire, aversion, and, in one word, whatever affairs are our own. Beyond our power are body, property, reputation, office, and in one word, whatever are not properly our own affairs. Now the things within our power are by nature free, unrestricted, unhindered, but those beyond our power are weak, dependent, restricted, alien. Remember then, that if you attribute freedom to things by nature dependent and take what belongs to others for your own, you will be hindered, you will lament, you will be disturbed, you will find fault, both with gods and men. But if you take for your own only that which is your own, and view what belongs to others just as it really is, then no one will ever compel you, no one will restrict you. You will find fault with no one. You will accuse no one. You will do nothing against your will. No one will hurt you. You will not have an enemy, nor will you suffer any harm. Aiming therefore at such great things, remember that you must not allow yourself any inclination, however slight, toward the attainment of the others, but that you must entirely quit some of them, and for the present postpone the rest. But if you would have these, and possess power and wealth likewise, you may miss the latter in seeking the former, and you will certainly fail of that by which alone happiness and freedom are procured. Seek at once, therefore, to be able to say to every unpleasing semblance, "You are but a semblance, and by no means the real thing," and then examine it by those rules which you have, and first and chiefly by this, whether it concerns the things which are within our own power, or those which are not. And if it concerns anything beyond our power, be prepared to say that it is nothing to you. Remember that desire demands the attainment of that of which you are desirous, and aversion demands the avoidance of that to which you are averse. That he who fails of the object of his desires is disappointed, and he who incurs the object of his aversion is wretched. If then you shun only those undesirable things which you can control, you will never incur anything which you shun. But if you shun sickness, or death, or poverty, you will run the risk of wretchedness. Remove the habit of aversion, then, from all things that are not within our power, and apply it to things undesirable, which are within our power. But, for the present, altogether restrain desire. For if you desire any of the things not within our own power, you must necessarily be disappointed, and you are not yet secure of those which are within our power, and so are legitimate objects of desire. Where it is practically necessary for you to pursue or avoid anything, do even this with discretion and gentleness and moderation. With regard to whatever objects either delight the mind or contribute to use or are tenderly beloved, remind yourself of what nature they are, beginning with the merest trifles. If you have a favourite cup, that it is but a cup of which you are fond of, for thus, if it is broken, you can bear it. If you embrace your child or your wife, that you embrace a mortal, and thus, if either of them dies, you can bear it. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. Thus, death is nothing terrible, else it would have appeared so to Socrates. But the terror consists in our notion of death, that it is terrible. When, therefore, we are hindered or disturbed or grieved, let us never impute it to others, but to ourselves, that is, to our own views. It is the action of an uninstructed person to reproach others for his own misfortunes, of one entering upon instruction to reproach himself, and one perfectly instructed to reproach neither others nor himself. Be not elated at any excellence not your own. If a horse should be elated and say, "I am handsome," it might be endurable, but when you are elated and say, "I have a handsome horse," know that you are elated only on the merit of the horse. What then is your own? The use of the phenomena of existence, so that when you are in harmony with nature in this respect, you will be elated with some reason, for you will be elated at some good of your own. As in a voyage, when the ship is at anchor, if you go on shore to get water, you may amuse yourself with picking up a truffle in your way, but your thoughts ought to be bent toward the ship and perpetually attentive, lest the captain should call, and then you must leave all these things, that you may not have to be carried on board the vessel. Thus likewise in life, if, instead of a truffle, such a thing as a wife or a child be granted you, there is no objection, but if the captain calls, run to the ship, leave all these things, and never look behind. But if you are old, never go far from the ship, lest you should be missing when called for. Demand not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Sickness is an impediment to the body, but not to the will unless itself pleases. Lameness is an impediment to the leg, but not to the will, and say this to yourself with regard to everything that happens, for you will find it to be an impediment to something else, but not truly to yourself. Upon every accident, remember to turn toward yourself and inquire what faculty you have for its use. If you encounter a handsome person, you will find continence the faculty needed. If pain, then fortitude. If reviling, then patience. And when thus habituated, the phenomena of existence will not overwhelm you. Never say of anything, I have lost it, but I have restored it. Has your child died? It is restored. Has your wife died? She is restored. Has your estate been taken away? That likewise is restored. But it was a bad man who took it. What is it to you by whose hands he who gave it has demanded it again? While he permits you to possess it, hold it as something not your own, as do travellers at an inn. Virtuous viewers, we appreciate your company on today's Words of Wisdom.